You know the drill. And with that said, let's go ahead and get into it. Let me move that out of the way. Let's actually start here. Ooh, well, there you go. This morning we said if it breaks the range to the upside, looking for new highs. If it breaks to the downside, looking for the buyers came. Buyers continued. So if you had your bullish trades, we talked about that. What do we think? Bullish trades continuing to look good. We'll look and see what the hedge possibility looks like. Sorry, I got Ron Barron says he should approve it. He earned his $56 billion. I was like, you couldn't tell from the article, and I all of a sudden found myself unable to continue until I knew whether he backs the package or backs the clawback. S&P is up 1%, 1.08 in fact. The Dow dipped negative, but is now up a quarter. The NASDAQ leading the charge, up 1 3/4%. 1.36%. Yeah. Crude oil up 1 1/4. Gold, everything's up today. Everything. Nvidia, tech, lead rally to new highs. We definitely have reestablished technology and the tech sector as the leading component for us in the market right now. Absolutely. Communication services not far behind. Industrials and technology a little behind that, but definitely seeing that going. So, okay, what else? Okay, cooling off. I'm not convinced yet. What ADP data means for rate cuts and markets, nothing. It means nothing. See, that's what I mean. The market needs its. Right now, we are addicted to the Fed. It's our crack. What is this going to mean? How is the Fed going to interpret this? What are they going to do? And it's just like we're like an insecure teenager, right? Some sort of pacification. Is this okay? Is it going to be okay? Anyways, Hewlett-Packard soars on earnings and guidance. What else? Gas prices dropping. Biden against Trumpy on immigration. Interesting. John, good to see you. Brace for a 10% slide in the S&P as stagflation. Ooh, stagflation. Come on. Who is this? Stifle? Come on, Stifle. We'd have to have rampant inflation, not a declined inflation. If we stall where we are, we're not that far above historical averages. Like if you look at a 25-year inflationary average, it's like 2.4%. And if you look at the way they're gauging it now, we're putting it right around the low threes. That's not an inflationary. And that was when oil was like 140 a barrel. That's this guy or girl, whoever this Stifle is. Stagflation makes the Fed unlikely to cut rates. Okay. Stock market could plunge 10%. That's not a plunge, first of all. That's a correction. Just a correction. It's not even a bear market. It's a correction. The stock market has an inflation problem. More losses could be ahead. So here's the problem. This is what I bring this up because I feel like we get so overtly biased. When they say more losses, That makes me think that we're in some kind of a bad market. What are you talking about? This market looks fantastic. Where we had a brief and minor consolidation, 5% tops. We're right back in the prior trend, just one level down, same angle. What more losses? Are you taking losses, buddy? I'm trading bullishly and it's working out. So what are you talking about? I don't know. Always fear. It's always trying to you're scared and then you click. I always caution, find news, not opinion. So if they're trying to scare you, then please be aware. Okay. What else? The calendar. What cooling data? We definitely saw some. Job openings, 8.4 to 8.1. This is inevitable. We cannot get used to, we can't think to ourselves, we're going to have a situation where job openings lives at 8 million or anywhere near 8 million. Rewind to 2019, strong market, strong economy, labor market was good. Where was this number? Like 3.5, 4 million tops. Half of this less. This is not like, oh, there's weakness in the job openings data. This is, oh, the job openings data seems to be reverting back to what we would consider more of a norm. We haven't been in norm since post-pandemic. So yeah, no, I don't see that as an indication of weakness. Well, I don't know. It's my thought. Number 2, ADP employment. We were expecting last month 188. We were thinking 175 and we came in at 152. I cannot tell you how many times in the last 2 years that these guys missed. And then we still had the unemployment report from non-farm exceed like significantly. Where they're like, oh, it's not going to be good. And all of a sudden we're like, 330,000 new jobs. Right? And even if non-farm comes in less than 190, it's expected to be at 190. Let's say it comes in at 150 as well. 150 is still stable. Like it's lower, but it's a stable reading. That's not this market's starting to look weak. Look at this. It's stable. I wouldn't expect unemployment to drop. So I don't know. I'm still seeing things, pretty strong. Tell me if you think I'm missing something. How about that? Lastly, on Friday in the morning, we will talk tomorrow morning. That'll be fun. Friday we'll talk and we'll have the non-farm and we'll see. But as of now, I'm thinking whatever we have in place, more of the same. What do we have in place? Bullishness. So I'm thinking more of the same. I do have a head signal. We'll get to that here in a minute. That is potentially developing. But having a head signal means what? It means you're bullish. If you didn't have any bullish trades on, you wouldn't need a hedge. Now, would you? So I only need a hedge because I am bullish. And so am I thinking to myself, hey, wouldn't it be great if things start to look a little overbought to get something in place? Absolutely it would. Absolutely. Okay. The model, neutral to slightly bearish on the S&P, increasingly bearish on the NASDAQ, but still not like terrible. Here's the IWM. Slightly negative, and here is the DIA. Yeah, there's a couple of cyber trucks in my area, in my neighborhood, and I'm now anti-Cybertruck. I've requested my $100 back. It is a letdown. You cannot tell me I'm going to get 500 miles and then deliver 300. And you cannot tell me, I'll have to check my credit card, John. That's a good question. And you cannot tell me I'm going to get like 650 horsepower and then give me like 400 and something. I mean, there's just so many. You can't tell me it's bulletproof, and then like a rock hits the window and it breaks. A lot of things that really were like, you promised me filet mignon, you gave me a Salisbury steak, and you said, "What do you think?" And I'd say, it's not a filet mignon. I like Salisbury steak with a nice gravy. But is it a filet mignon? Because if you tell me that's what I'm getting, that's what I want. Okay. I'm just saying. Plus, my wife would probably never have ridden it with me. So it's like, okay. What else? Mostly sideways is what we tend to expect, but we've gotten a little bit more bullish than usual. That's for sure. Lastly, real quickly, and then we'll do our quiz. And then we'll look at the VIX. I do still think they're kind of cool, but it's not for me. June, nothing. July actually has improved, but I don't think there's any possibility. It's about, I don't know, 4-1. September. I'm a November person right now. Tell me where you are. It's actually moved to be almost 2-1 now. 2-1 in September. I don't know. That's real hopeful. If tomorrow the CPI numbers, no, not tomorrow. If next week on Wednesday and Thursday the PPI report earnings. Oh, sorry, I just read a message. If next week they report a renewed decrease in the inflationary data, then I think, okay, September could happen. Only if we get it tomorrow. If not tomorrow, I'm immediately a November guy. I do still think, though, that we will get it in 2024. What do I think about Lulu? And it's going to report earnings after hours. Okay, yeah, we'll take a look. Definitely. Let's get into some charts here. Here's the SPY. Man, just still going. What's a drawback about it today? There's not a lot of volume here. It's touching new highs. And here's the deal. We don't need volume. If we have trend, we don't need volume. I don't need breakout volume right now. I've already believed that the buyers are in control. If I believe the buyers are in control, I don't need like, oh, they're smashing it and grabbing and blah, blah. Nope. It's good to go. I'd prefer it's touching new highs today. Not a lot of volume. Will be maybe, what are we at? 122 my time. We got 38 minutes. We're at 29 out of 47. I bet we get to 40 million. That's only about 80%. What did we get to yesterday? 35. I bet we'll get more than yesterday, so that's good. That's at least an increase. Yeah, I still see this as favorable. Let's look inside of today. This was interesting because it like broke down and then came back, and then it broke down, and then it was just like, and then right there, that was kind of it broke back above the opening range, a little higher low, and then bam, off to the races for the day. Quiz. Let's get the quiz. Because the bulls are where they are, I'm going to say new highs. New highs. Bam, right across. Oh, that did not do what I wanted it to do. Let's try again. Let's try again. Right there. And then I'm going to go across this one. A, B. Whoa. That's a B. C. ABC. John's an A. Scott's a B. I'm a B. B, B, B. Where are we at? I need answers. I need answers. LK is a B. Peter is a B. All right. Let's see what Stella is. Get your answer in when I come back from Stella. That's it. The window's closing. There's no gold medals. There's no, yeah, that's what I was going to say. What you was going to do and what you did. Let's go back to SPY. Have to match up. Let's get down here to the intraday. Stella says we are finishing at 533.65. 533.65 is here. Stella's a B. Okay. Anyone else? Gone. Where's my drawing tools? There we go. Yeah, really turned out to be a pretty strong day. So what else do we want to look at here? Let's look at the VIX. The VIX has been concerning to me because of the fact that it's still, even now, even as much strength as we have, it's got a good distance to go before it gets out of what I would consider to be cautionary territory. That's my last low. That's my consolidation line. I broke out of it. I got here, which is clearly a higher low than this one. Now on the pullback, you'll notice how I'm just sort of riding this consolidation line, but I'm sitting on the upper end of it. So if tomorrow it has a little pause and the next day it turns, this thing is going to go like that. And that's a higher low. What am I going to do? I'm going to hedge. I'm going to tighten stops. I'm going to take profits. I'm going to be fairly protective with my trading if that happens right there. Is it absolutely going to take 2 days? I mean, it could happen just like this. It opens tomorrow. It turns. Bam. That's turned. That's going to turn this. If it takes out today's high, I think it's valid, but it wouldn't be till towards the end of the day. But what's the concern? The concern is that an escalation is happening just like we saw here, right? It broke I missed the line. It was more like here. Broke the consolidation, went up, pulled back, higher low, stochastics. That's what we're concerned about. And what does that tend to lead to? Worse conditions. Worse conditions. All right. So now what then? Well, now I'm watching this. Today's pretty good. But overall, is there still some concern amongst the institutions about the current state of things? And the answer is yes, there is. Most definitely yes. All right. Why can't I erase? There we go. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? I'm going to go pop into Lulu before I move into the watch list before I don't forget. Lululemon. Lululemon is the perfect thing to say if you're talking in a deep voice into a fan. Lululemon. Try it. I promise. Once you do, you'll never pass another fan again without saying it. My daughter loves Lululemon too much. Too much. It's not cheap. Trend is down. It's down, right? I mean, you can see the last earnings, it got just donkey kicked. Bam. And that donkey kick just sent it into a tailspin. And then we had one rally here. And that was a bear suck out trap. Rallied up. No volume. Now, if you had, I guess I could see maybe. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see there's been anything here. For me, I would probably say the line of consolidation is like this right now. It has to it can't just break right here. It's got to break all the way above here, come back down. Then I would trade bullishly. Then and only then. What do we know about it right now? We know the implied volatility is off the charts high. Yeah. Reminiscent due to earnings of the same scenario. Bling, right here. What happens? It doesn't open and slide gently down through the day from last time it went from 48.5 to 30. I'm trying to read it. 30. That was an 18% implied volatility drop. This time we're at 56, so we're even higher. And there's a good chance that ball comes all the way down here. So whatever options, if you are long options, if you own options, it is going to suck the life out of them. Even if the stock goes up, it's going to suck the life out of them. I mean, the stock would have to literally get like above 325 for calls to even have a thought of surviving, let alone making money. For me, it creates an untradeable situation, right? I'm not convinced of the direction. I'm bearish on it overall, but we know things can shift on earnings. Volatility's off the charts. There's no great strategy around that. I've tried. I spent a good part of my 30s working, developing, refining, testing, playing with various earning strategies. Like, there's got to be something here with the level of consistency that we have from implied volatility dropping. The closest thing I got to was what I deemed a reverse strangle swap. And it was trying to capitalize with, God, I can't even remember. I'd have to go see if I have notes. I have notes somewhere on it. But capitalizing on the short-term implied volatility dropping and hurting it more than the long-term volatility, but without direction. But it's impossible. Direction. So basically, you're like, I know implied volatility is going to drop, but what's the problem? I don't know if the stock is going to move, but it can. And when it does, it can be enormous. So can you always protect against that? No, that's the problem, right? It feels like there should be something here, and I pursued it. I pursued it for years. There's nothing there. You can believe me. You can pursue it yourself. Maybe you're better than I am, and you find it. And if you pursue it, I wish you luck in your quest. Okay. But what I would say is this: crapshoot on direction, absolute certainty that the volatility is going to drop. So any strategy you would do, any strategy you would do should be Vega negative. If you have a Vega positive strategy, you're going to get demolished when the volatility drops tomorrow. It's tough. I think it'll be an interesting one, but nothing I would want to trade. Good example, though. I love this, how consistent and concise. You can even go back here and see the same thing. Earnings. The volatility was only at 42, but even then it went from 42 to 30. 12% there. 17 here. I think we may see a 20% drop or more this time. We'll see. Very, very interesting, though. Okay, let me get rid of the charts here. Or lines. Let's get to the watch list. Let's see. Oh, that's not it. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, son of a gun. Why can't I move this? Just move over. Okay. Okay. Apple. Anybody in this one with me? Gave a nice signal last week and it just sort of moved a little, moved a little, moved a little, moved a little, moved a little. Ikenashi is doing what? Giving us more and more. At this point, where we are, with the VIX setting up the way it is, we only have 2 days left this week. I'm getting a little bit more protective. So I'm choosing to move down to a 4-hour chart. And what's the difference, you might say? Well, if I go one candle back, well, let's say that when the market closes, I'm going to use this candle for tomorrow. This candle would have me put my stop at 193.25. 193.25 would be my stop for tomorrow. That's $3 below the current price versus here at 194.75. 194.75. Which is only $2 away. So it's a tighter stop. It's risking less profits and moving my stop twice a day instead of once a day because I'm saying, hey, I've only got 2 days left. The trade's done well. I don't want to give it back. Yada, yada, yada. Be mindful of your trade management techniques right now, especially on a day like today, where we got a little extra than maybe we thought we might. AIG. Ooh, AIG not looking good, breaking the low. AMD is kind of turning, but it's in a basing pattern. That's not for me yet. Amazon, nope. It's got work to do. What would it take? What is the work you're saying it needs to do? If this is my line of consolidation, it has to get above it, back to it, and then hold. It could get a little below the 50, but it's got to look like that. If it looks like that, fantastic. If it doesn't, well then, patience. AXP mostly sideways. Okay, let's see. Sorry, I lost my comments. There we go. All right. Boeing. Okay, so let's talk about Boeing. On Boeing, did I skip one? AMD. Oh, Amazon. I needed to get back above AXP. AXP, I think, is still a setup. There was a bit of a false start. I think that is true across the board in the financial sector. As long as it doesn't break the lows or break the 50, that a false start does not nullify a potential signal. In fact, I can tell you, based on a lot of, well, it's anecdotal experience, but times where I would get in a trade, stop out, and then a similarly valid signal would show up a second time and I wouldn't take it. I'm like, oh my God, I keep missing the trade that I want because it gives a false start. And then it's like I line up for the race, there's a false start, and then I walk off. And I'm like, hey, there's still a race here. Like, get back to the block. Boeing, on the other hand, I said, due to some, potentially personal biases, I said, I'm not really interested in trading it. I'll watch to see if it recovers. But I said this would be a valid signal. We broke up. We got above the 50. It pulled back, higher low. That's a valid entry right there. And then we got 3 days in a row if you traded it, you're laughing at me right now saying, yeah, worked out just fine, buddy. Bank America. There's better. It's choppy still. Citigroup, if you like it, Citigroup is still holding right at the 50. I'd wait for a little more confirmation. Caterpillar is not strong right now as an industrial, so just be careful. Out of the consumer defensive, it's moving a little. It's moving, and I would expect its Heiken-Ashi to really start showing. The thing about this is it could move a little, 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 move a little. And all of a sudden you've got 12 days. This thing's up, and you're like, yeah, great. 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 Someone accused me of being Tony the Tiger. I said, yeah, I like Tony the Tiger. What did I do here? I need to change my style back to candles. CMG, I'm going to keep watching it. I actually think this is, from a trend and a swing perspective, it trades pretty well. I don't like, obviously, that it's so illiquid as far as the options and the spreads, and it's just not, it doesn't make for an efficient market. So, that's a concern. CMG. Oh no, I talked about CMG. That's the one already. ConocoPhillips. Oil is significantly regressed from its spring highs. The spring highs were really, in my opinion, one of the primary factors that put a damper on the inflationary progress that was being made. They attributed the primary factors contributing to recent inflation increases to energy, particularly oil and rent, which is a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy because if interest rates don't come down, it's hard to buy homes. And if there's a low inventory, then owners are able to charge more. That increase in rent adds to inflation, puts us in a bit of a quandary. So, yeah, okay. All right. What's next? Costco. Still waiting. I got to be patient. I thought we were going to get an opportunity here before earnings. It didn't come. I thought we were going to get an opportunity here after earnings. It just immediately continued. It's a bit of a freight train right now. So could you jump on? Sure. Is it dangerous? Yeah, it's way more dangerous to jump on a fast-moving train than a slow-moving train, right? That's why we wait for it to kind of ease into the station. Let me get on and then take off again. Those support bounces, that's the station for me. What else? CRBG, that looks valid. If you're looking for an opportunity, that certainly, in my opinion, presents itself as such. Let me just look at one thing over here. Convinced, but I would say this thing is definitely knocking on the door. I'm keeping a very close eye on this one. DAL Delta gave a bit of a gave a signal and then a hiccup, and now it's like, is it gonna resume? It's hard to tell. Airlines have been okay. Straight call on CRBG. The vol is looking pretty good. I agree with that. I think that would be fine. It does tend to take a couple weeks when it catches swings. So if you are worried about time decay, you could certainly look to turn it into some kind of like out of the money bull call spread where you mitigate time decay a little bit. Never a bad idea to think about that. But yeah, I'm always open to a straight call. I never have a Vol's cheap, right? The VIX is at 13. So if someone's like, hey, are you thinking about buying options? My answer is hell yes. We all should be open to that, right? Crowd and NVIDIA. Crowd I'll look at now. That's perfectly in where we are alphabetically, and I'm superstitious, so thank you for that, Peter. Bam. Crowd, okay, so unfortunately, they just got an earnings bump. So we're 11.5% behind. I'll tell you this. I don't like catching, 11% behind. It is at the high, but we've already seen with this long shadow here that the sellers are like ready to take profits at the sniff of something a little fishy. And it doesn't have a whole lot of room before it gets to this. I mean, really, it's hard to call that resistance. It was only there fractionally on the open. I would say that this is really my resistance across here. When it got 1, 2, 3, 4, failed 5 times, 352. I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical, but we'll see. Hold off on NVIDIA. That one's on the list. We'll get to that, as well as Taiwan Semiconductor and Micron within the chip sector. Where were we? We were at Delta. Iffy Diamonds kind of bumping its head under the 200-day. The Dow has been the weakest. Yeah, the Dow has been the weakest in the major market comparison analysis that I've conducted, which is actually good. If the Dow is strong, how would we interpret that? We would have to interpret that as people moving money into a defensive positioning, seeking safe harbor. So for me, that actually lends itself to providing support for the original narrative, which is bullish. EQH. Financials looks good. Nice soft pullback. It's funny whenever you have this huge volume spike back here, which I actually am very suspicious actually occurred. If I zoom in like this to most of this chart, I get a much better sense of volume. And I think, oh yeah, this selling off on this diminished volume, definitely a nice trade developing here as well. So strengthen financials, strengthen technology, strengthen consumer consumer communication services. Sorry, communication services. FCX is basic materials. It does seem, I'll keep an eye on it. Bitcoin is trying to move bullishly, but we're starting to see a consistent theme of resistance in this 64.5 to 65 level. All right. I'm looking for my third trade post GE as GE Aerospace. Number 1, took it, stopped out, took a loss. Number 2, took it, sold some, sold the rest. Basically, I'm 1 for 1 around break even. The third trade will decide if the jinx has been lifted. I don't know if you guys are trading it or just observing. I will report back on whether or not the jinx has been removed. Gold looks like it's trying. I would say it's valid. It looks like we could be trying to catch one of these up to 230, 235. We'll see. Google, open for business. That was already valid. I would say on these 2 days here, it's up a little today. Would like to see it start moving a little more. HIMS, I've been waiting for it to pull back, but haven't had it start yet. We'll see. IWM, stable. And as people and traders start thinking that rates may be advantageous or rate policy is going to get more dovish, this thing will move again. And the market is prone to overreacting. KBH, a little bit of a hiccup. Coke, great one. This was a new one. It had a nice catch, took off. We start thinking about profit taking. We start thinking about tightening stops. How close is it to what you were thinking you were going to? I did not take this trade because it was in a basing pattern. I actually was waiting for this to be my signal. You can see we do have volume. Let's zoom in here. Average is 11.6. We're already at 13. We've got 10 minutes to go. This is going to probably hit 14 million. Nice volume breaking out of this. What does that mean? It means now I'm ready to make the trade the next time I get a chance. It might keep going, right? It might keep going all the way up into this area here, but then I'm looking for the pullback. The next higher low, I'm back in Meta. I'm ready to go. MFC, nice setup. Where's Manulife? Financials. MMM, hiccup, in my opinion, but still a setup developing here. Morgan Stanley, financials, I would say still in a setup. So again, we're not going to trade all of these. You're going to pick one or two financials. Maybe you pick one out of the insurance area, one out of the banking brokerage area. Same with chips and technology. Microsoft looks fantastic today. Absolutely tradable. I don't think Stella likes it. But I would say that looks good. Nice support bounce. Stochastics turning. Volatility is low. Again, options are pretty cheap. Where was my watch list? Micron. There's some real bullishness going on in the chips. Micron was starting to pull back and then turned abruptly. Netflix turning abruptly. NVIDIA breaking out. I mean, this beast continues to roar. So here's the deal. If you're in NVIDIA, amazing. If you're not, it's really hard to enter this right now. It's about to go through a 10-for-1 split. And I think it has all it needs to just stay on this current trend, possibly even accelerating its trajectory. You'll notice I'm going to put a trend line in here. If this thing is accelerating, boop, I'm going to go. Okay. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room. Time axis to, let's just say 20. And then let's give ourselves, so after this split occurs, if we're sitting around this 125 mark, do I think that 160 to 170 later in the summer is on the table? Yes, 100%. 100%. I think it's just an absolute market leader right now, strongest in the market. I'm going to leave those lines there. QQQ, strong, led by chips, followed closely by software. RTX, a nice industrial trade. Still has some oomph, it seems. SPY, we're now up almost 1.1%. Very good day today. Taiwan Semiconductors, same as Micron. We're looking for it in here. And these were actually valid entries. The stochastics turned. The problem some people have is entering on a red candle or a doji candle. So one thing I would say is prime yourself to be willing to enter, even if you have a candle that's not like what you would consider to be ideal. Okay. The dollar, I would say we were looking to see if it was going to break down. It got a little below the 50, which we've done before, but unfortunately, it looks like it might be still meandering back up. I'm watching this kind of basing pattern very closely. Up here is a danger zone. Down here is definitely where we would like to be. We've been stuck here since about the end of April, and it's been a little dicey since then. So we'll see what happens. This here is where things got a little bit nasty, and then since it's come down a little bit, good. The problem is if it doesn't continue, is that dollar pressure gonna put additional pressures on the stock market itself? So yeah, we'll keep an eye on it and see what we think. The VIX is, as we said, in a potential hedge zone. This is absolutely a potential hedge zone. So what does that mean? It means that if I get a higher low, I'm going to buy a 5-week out, 5% out of the money put on SPY. I would think it's going to cost me somewhere around $1.25 to $1.50, depending on how high it spikes. If I'm getting it under 13, should be around $1.30, no more. And that's the system for my initial automated insurance buying, right? Put as a hedge buying. It's not speculative. I'm not bearish. It's just simply a hedge. Okay. Real quickly, let's wrap it up. VRT looks pretty strong. Do we consider this to be a concrete buy signal? Or that's the T. Amen. Amen to that. Close. I'd say this is just right there as well. What else? WFC holding on. I believe Vlad has a trade on that. WMT, I was looking for this thing to pull back just a little more, and it didn't. I thought maybe it would like fill this and get down to here. No dice. Materials eased up a little, but still potentially going to bounce. Communication services. Oh, that looks bullish. Am I right? Energy lower. That looks not bullish. That looks bullish as well. That looks like it's easing the pressure. Financials, a little bit of a hiccup, but as long as it bounces, looks good. Industrials, a little iffy. Technology looks bullish. Staples, there's still some iffy spots in the market. There's still like defensiveness, but look at this. All of a sudden, that surge we had in utilities is starting to slow down. Healthcare up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling the bullishness still. I think we've got setups. The fact that we're being led by the right sectors, technology, communication services, and financials, that increases the validity of what we're seeing as a potentially bullish move and window. Yeah, 100%. I think this looks exactly like we would want it to. Okay. Questions, comments, or concerns? We've got 2 minutes, but we're meeting again tomorrow morning. What do we have? Do we have early morning news tomorrow? I've already forgotten. Tomorrow's news says, it's just jobless claims. Not much. So we'll see. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow morning. And as always, happy trading.